groups that went together with these other groups, like the Vietnam veterans and stuff, and put together the Vortex
Now,
Gathering.
the fact of this being 100% is not made. Is that right?
This was approved by without dissension by everybody who was
That's his assertion.
On the Rainbow Peace Project. It was not approved by the Rainbow Family or the Rainbow Family Council or Tribal Council or the Rainbow Gatherings. That's
by
different.
somebody else.
This is the Rainbow Peace Council, Rainbow Peace Projects International, which came out of the consensus that we got together at Rainbow Gatherings, but evolved into separate entities that are doing their own peace projects, which are totally in keeping with the Rainbow, with the Rainbow Family, with the Rainbow Family Tribal Councils, with the Rainbow Gatherings, but which are at odds with some of the individuals and some of the ongoing trips that go on between the
and not under
some
control.
of the scams, so not under anybody's control, except as they say, if you're involved in something and you're under, and you shouldn't.
You shouldn't use the name unless you're going to follow the.
Oh yeah, well I don't think. I mean, I think guidelines are pretty good, pretty basic. I don't think any of us would ever violate any of them willingly, knowingly, because they're pretty simple. But that's more than anybody's had up till now. It's all been hearsay, traditions which became traditions for no other reason than they were.
And somebody said they were.
Then they happened 2 or 3 years in a row. Yeah. Originally, we intended there to be no traditions, no organization. Things just happen as they needed to. If something needed to be done, people volunteered to do it.
Yeah.
If something needed to be decided, we had a council. Everybody that was there that wanted to be.
So you had a council. You had no council in Wyoming.
We had impromptu councils that came together.
Small ones.
As to tell visions, to tell stories, to talk about things.
Okay. So it was a group council with no consensus available.
The best council was we did a real Native, not Native American, but Native American church traditional. Not as that church, but the people that did it we did a real sacramental high. My first real peyote ceremony meeting, and probably the best one. And that was the best council. But there were other impromptu councils, but there was no tradition of any council, and there were no traditions about what. So even that there would be a gathering.
When you left,
the gathering in Utah happened because somebody stuck up a sign saying Virgin River, Utah.
Yeah,
that's all the sign said.
How long were you at this? How long were you at this Wyoming?
A little over a week.
A little over a week. So you didn't stick around for the cleanup.
There was almost no cleanup because there was almost no
refuse.
Refuse.
Okay. Okay.
We brought in, we packed in and packed out what we had. There was some cleanup involved. I did a little bit, but I don't count that. I've been to at least 9 cleanups, and I don't count that one because from there I took a whole rainbow crew on my van.
On your trip.
We went to Flathead Lake in Montana and started painting my van psychedelic colors. Then we went to try to get across to Canada and got refused twice in Montana, in the middle of nowhere. Then we went to Oregon, picked up some more people, got across easy. I spent a month in Vancouver and British Columbia, mostly in the mountains, at communes, at Tibetan Buddhist monasteries, the Tail of the Tiger, and on
73. That's when my ex-old lady Tasha was in British Columbia.
British Columbia was beautiful.
Yeah.
A lot of rainbow people that are part of the rainbow, but
they took a VW bus up there. And
had a VW bus.
Her and Mark Muncie lived up there.
People gave us food, gave us places to stay. We had everything. I could pay for my gas. I had a little bit of money. We got refused entrance into Canada twice in Montana.
Because you didn't have any money.
Because I had money. I had 8 to 10 to a dozen people with me at any given time that didn't have. Some of them had a little money. Overall, they had no money. We were clean going across at the time because but they questioned us all independently. No telling what they asked some of the people. They asked me if I'd ever smoked marijuana before, and I said I smoked marijuana twice in college, and I didn't much like it. And later they came back and they said they knew I had money, that I owned the van, that I had credit cards for gas, that I was just planning on staying a couple of days, that there was no reason to keep me out. They didn't like my friends. They were keeping them all out for various reasons. They said you tried marijuana twice in college. Judge Gates, who's trying to be confirmed for the Supreme Court now, had tried marijuana more than I had, told them that I tried it. They said they could keep me out of Canada for that.
Sure they could.
They did.
They did.
They did. I just said they could. They did. And anyway, we went over to Washington and got in right easy.
Went through a big city.
Yeah. At a different time. It's just, and spent over a month in Canada, which was great, and then I went back down to Oregon and Northern California to San Francisco.
Back in the United States? Oh, no.
Yeah, with just a few, with one or two Canadians and an Englishman and a couple of people from who was one of the best blues guitar players that I've ever traveled with, John, who may still be around, who was also ended up going. Then we went across country. A few people made the whole trip with me, including John, the blues guitar player. Yeah.
He turned into Spider John Kerner.
He's not called Spider John Kerner. He's a better guitar player.
Oh.
Although Spider John Kerner is one of the people back that I used to see in Cambridge back then, who I still like. Who's one of the best guitar players around. Yeah. But this guy's better because I can play with him. Just knowing when I knew a lot of music, but I couldn't play much on the guitar then. But I could play along with sort of early Rolling Stones type blues rock.
So now you knew you were going to be in Utah the next year. Is that right?
No, I knew that there was a sign saying Virgin River, Utah. I knew that if I could make it, that there might be a gathering.
There might be a gathering.
I went to Utah from Arkansas looking for a rainbow gathering. I had no idea where in Utah to look. I had no idea where the Virgin. Yeah, I found it. Well, we followed the signs. I picked up Messin Eagle, who's one of my old rainbow friends now, who I've done all kinds of work on for the Ganja Tour and for normal and grassroots and marijuana initiatives in California and Oregon. I first picked up hitchhiking. He was hitchhiking in Page, Arizona, on the way to the Utah gathering. I picked up several dozen people at various times.
And
various places. We went to Zion, we went to Bryce, we went all over southern Utah looking for the gathering. We started heading for the Virgin River, generally in St. George's, because we heard it was, and by word of mouth and signs on the road. And
still driving your painted Volkswagen?
Yeah, no. At this point, that's another story. At this point, I had an old Plymouth.
Okay.
Boat.
Okay. So how'd you find it?
Following signs, and by word of mouth along the way, and being lucky, being very persistent. Sometimes they were a rainbow in the sky. Sometimes we'd stop at Bryce or Zion and hang out and ask somebody, or somebody would come up.
Somebody would say something.
Or sometimes we'd see a rainbow painted in the road. Sometimes we'd see a pile of stones. Sometimes we'd catch a vibe. That was the way to go. There were different people that had different ideas. There were no
So
set
what did you
signs.
see when you got to this one?
Nothing. It was in the middle of the desert. There was a lake that was off limits because it was supposedly contaminated. There were at first a few hundred people, maybe overall, and there were a couple of thousand people.
Out in the desert.
Of some of the scroungiest looking people camping out in the middle of nowhere in the desert in Utah, with no water.
No water.
But it was also nice because every day, a couple of times a day, the rangers would bring these water trucks in and fill up all our water stuff and spray stuff. And so that when the rangers came in with the water,
everybody loved it.
We loved it. We got massage circles going. I can still right now. I'm back in Utah. We've got a massage circle going of several dozen nude men and women massaging each other in a spray of rain coming. About a 40, 50 foot square area coming from this water truck with rainbows, with the hot sun bearing down, and it was hot in the 80s and 90s most of the time. And when it was a long time between the water trucks, we learned to conserve water every day, but twice a day. But it was a long time between trucks because it got really hot. Yeah.
Okay.
We would have people.
How many people were here?
Overall, several thousand. Most of the time,
overall, several thousand.
The whole gathering, meaning from before it started till after it was over.
Oh, okay.
And most of the time, there were
4th of July.
4th of July, there were maybe a little over 1,000. It was the smallest one.
All camping out.
There were people that went. There were people all over Utah that never found it. There were several sites that had.
Did you drive right up to the site, or did you have to park your car again and walk to the site?
You had to walk a little ways. You didn't have to walk as far to Utah because you were already in the middle of nowhere. In
Utah's the middle of nowhere. Sure.
We were in the middle of the nowhere of the desert, which is already in the middle of nowhere in Utah. And we only had to walk a mile or less from where we parked our cars because there weren't as many cars, there weren't as many people. That actually made it. There were actually a couple of larger gathering sites that had as many or more people that never actually made it. They called themselves rainbow gatherings, but this was where the actual gathering site ended up being.